Hey guys, what is up? It's me, CroffStudios here, and I'm here with my Series 3 of my custom collectible minifigure series. And this is a pretty cool one as well. The first two I showed you guys, can go check those out in my custom minifigure series playlist if you want to. Just play both those two before you watch this one. But I got some pretty sweet minifigures to show you guys in this custom series, and I definitely think you guys will like it. So let's go into our first minifig. First up for our minifigures is the Headless Horseman, and I thought this was a needed figure for the minifigure series. The helmet is not really accurate to the Headless Horseman, but it's still a decent helmet. It's the only really knight-ish one, I guess you could say I could find. You can see those legs I gave him. I gave him a cool ring wraith torso with that black sword, the white hands. You can see the skull on his hand. You can see I gave him that bandit piece just to, and I put a stud on top of it to show how he doesn't have a head there. And you can see his cape is kind of rigged up. It has some stuff on it. You can see it's all banged up. He's probably been in a lot of battles and stuff like that. So he's a cool looking minifigure right here. So let's go on to our next figure. Continuing our robot minifigures from the series before, this time I made the robot basically knight, and this is kind of just the basic one. You can see I gave him a blue shield with a chainsaw looking sword. You can see he has some pretty basic armor. His armor piece is from a Series 9 knight, and you can see that head I used on the other knights, and you can see the middle clip of the helmet is missing. I kind of like it when the helmets are like that and they don't have that little nose piece in the middle. I like it more. And you can also see his legs are from a Power Miners set. His torso printing is just a basic castle torso, so I'm not really going to go into that. You can see his silver arm right there. So I think it's a pretty cool minifigure for the robot series. Up next is the Cameraman, and he's a pretty cool minifigure right here. You can see right here his torso is a really old torso from a Lego movie set. You can see his legs right there have the little pieces of mail or whatever you want to call it in there. He has a laptop, and you can see his camera right there has a tripod and stuff like that. And I gave him a fedora too. I thought that looked kind of cool, and you can see his face is kind of disturbed or something like that a little bit. He has some back printing that says Cameraman on it, so I definitely thought that was a great torso, and I only have one of these torsos, so I thought it was a perfect fit for the Cameraman minifigure. And I think it just definitely looks like a cameraman when you look at him. Totally looks like someone who would be a cameraman in real life. It's a little stereotypical, but it definitely looks like a cameraman, and Lego likes to make stereotypical minifigures sometimes. So I think this is a pretty cool figure. Onto one of my least favorites of the series, but it's still a decent minifigure, which is the Toy Designer, and it's a very plain minifigure. You can see his tan legs right there. I gave him a little knight micro figure right there. You can see that. I gave him a little boat too, so basically he's probably designing those. You can see his glasses face right there, and he has the long hair, and on the back he has the little hoodie printing. Not really too much about this minifigure. He's kind of a basic figure. I think it's kind of a cool, unique figure, though. It's kind of like a Toy Designer. It basically represents a Lego designer right there. So I think it's kind of a decent minifigure, but it's just kind of boring. Up next is the modern day soldier, and you can see right here I gave him a pretty cool looking weapon right there, and he has some grenades on his legs. You can see his green torso from a Toy Story set, and he has kind of a concerned face, and he's pretty scared probably going out into battle. You can see the brown pack I gave him, and I'm not sure if he has back printing. I don't think he does. But you can see him right there. He's a pretty plain minifigure, but definitely a cool looking soldier. If you like army built these guys, they'd be pretty cool in battle. I don't really necessarily think this would be a modern day soldier. Or it'd be some type of soldier. I don't really know what it would be. It's just kind of a basic soldier you can use for battle, and I think it's a pretty cool looking minifig. On to one of my favorites of the series, which is the golfer. You can see right here I gave him the putt right there. It's a pretty cool little build right there, and I gave him a golf ball, obviously. I really like the light bluish shirt that I gave him right there, and you can see his torso is from a collectible minifigure, if you didn't know. And that hat, you can see it's from the painter, and I definitely think it goes well with him. And it's white to make sure he doesn't get hot from the sun. You can see his face right there smiling, and it doesn't have any back printing, but I think the arm printing or the arm molding right there makes up for the lack of back printing. It's a very plain minifigure, but definitely gets the job done. He also has a glow-in-the-dark golf ball, but I'm not really going to get into that. But it's a pretty cool minifigure. Up next for our minifigures is the Boy Scout, and he's one of the only short minifigures in my custom minifigure series. You can see I gave him a flashlight and a little knife right there, and you can see his torso right there is basically just a little Boy Scout looking torso. He has the little happy face right there with the orange hair, and I gave him some molding arm printing, I guess you could call it. And when you take this off, you can see it's a scared face. That is Emmett's head, if you didn't know. But I think it definitely looks good with a Boy Scout, since sometimes he's brave with this face, and sometimes he's scared with the other face. So I think it's kind of a cool minifigure, and you can see he has the slicked hair to make sure he's, he's a Boy Scout, so he's got to be all prepared and stuff like that. He's got the flashlight and the knife. So I think it's a pretty cool minifigure. Up next for minifigures is the Medieval Assassin, and this is one of the later ones I came up with in my minifigure series. You can see his face right there is a very serious face. I love that head. It's from a very old castle or knight set. It's a very cool head, though. I love that head, and you can see even he has that arm molding with the short sleeves, and he has the daggers right there. Has a Lone Ranger pants right there, and you can see his torso. Looks pretty cool right there. And when you turn around, he has some back printing. There's an elf torso from The Hobbit, if you didn't know, and you can see a better look at him right there with his head, and he looks really sweet. I just love that head, and I really like the old-fashioned heads for medieval guys more. I don't know, they just seem more serious when they're fighting in battle and stuff. It's definitely a cool figure in my opinion. Up next is the Medieval Queen, and I think this is a really cool minifigure right here. You can see her dress right there, and her torso looks pretty cool. I gave her some grapes right there, which I thought was a really cool touch to add to her, and she has a very serious face right there, and she has a jeweled staff right there, which is red, and kind of the theme with this character is red and white, and I really like the look of that. And you can see her crown right there, and when you take off her hair, you can see she has kind of a happier face. That head is from a Galaxy Squad set, if you didn't know. You can see her back printing right there, which is pretty cool. So I think it's a pretty cool minifigure. Very serious queen right here, and she's definitely ready to go to war or whatever. She's got the staff, and she's got a really sweet looking grapes. That's from Brick Warriors, if you did not know. Cool accessory right there. Go and buy that if you guys want to get that. But definitely a sweet looking minifigure right here, in my opinion. I think I made a pretty cool looking queen. Up next is air traffic control, and you can see these are the people that basically guide the planes out of the airway. And you can see right here, you can see her leg printing is from a fireman, I think, and her torso is from something else. And you can see her lights right there that she has two of, and her happy face right there. She has the helmet with the ponytail in the back, which is a cool piece. And taking this off, you can see her back printing a bit better. It's very simple back printing. It's kind of a simple minifigure, as always, but it's definitely something that LEGO hasn't made, so it's unique in its own way. And LEGO would probably give something like a molded light or something like that to make it a little special in its own way. So I think this is just kind of a unique figure, not really like some of the other ones. Up next is the Arctic Scientist, and you can see right here, this is a very cool looking minifigure. I gave her the old hat for a Eskimo type of look. You can see her leg printing and torso printing. Her leg printing is from a New City set, but her torso printing is actually a very old piece. You can see right there, it's basically an Arctic piece, and you can see her head right there. If you guys know what that head is, that's a really cool head. It's from a Star Wars set. Obviously the back head doesn't go with it, but definitely the front one does, since it's covering her face, except for her eyes. Obviously this head on the back isn't accurate, but I think the one on the front goes with the minifigure pretty well. Taking a look at her right there, you can see she can study whatever's out in the Arctic, I guess. So it's a pretty cool minifig. Up next for minifigures is the Fire Lord, or the Fire God, I guess you could say. You can see he has red arms, and that torso is actually a sticker piece from the Kai's. It's a flying plane set from the rebooted series. You can see it's a sticker from that. Actually, I just put it on his torso. I think that looks really sweet, though, the way it looks on there. You can barely tell it's actually a sticker. You can see his legs are from a Chima set with the little claws on his feet, which look pretty cool. And I gave him that piece from the Agent set, the Inferno Interception, that headpiece right there, which goes over his face, which is from a Series 10 minifigure, which is I think the Native American Indian. But you can see him right there. He's a pretty cool minifig. He has an axe with some clear red blades right there, probably made out of lava or fire. And you can see his cape right there is from the Evil Wizard, which is definitely a cool minifigure, though. It has a lot going on with the minifigure. You can see the fire, the legs, the cape. He's definitely an evil looking Fire Lord. So let's go into our next minifig. Up next for minifigures is actually a figure from my original series that I made a very long time ago, just a couple years ago, which is the Ice Sculptor. And this is one of the ideas I took from that really old series and brought it into this new one. And you can see he has some plain gray legs right there, but you can see he has the chainsaw and the clear head, so he's sculpting a head out of ice. You can see that torso right there, which is pretty cool. It has some tools. His face right there has a little happy face, and turning him around, he has some back printing. Pretty simple minifigure, but I think think it's kind of a cool figure since they haven't really made a figure like this before, an ice sculptor. So I think it's kind of a unique figure in its own way. You can see his hat right there makes him, obviously he's out in cold conditions, keeping his ice head cold and stuff like that when he's working on it. So decent minifigure. It's not super detailed, but I think it gets the job done for an ice sculptor. Up next for figures is the Monopoly Man, and this is a kind of odd figure. I wasn't really planning on making this figure, but it definitely looks like the Monopoly Man. Obviously, I gave him the $100 bill for sure, and I gave him a brown walking stick, and you can see his white gloves with the, that's actually Dracula's torso, if you did not know. He has some gray legs right there, and you can see his face right there just has the two blank eyes. It's actually a smiley face head under the mustache, if you didn't know, but the mustache definitely goes well with the top hat, and turning him around, he has a bit of back printing, but it definitely looks like the Monopoly Man. It's a cool figure. You can just have him up on your shelf. He looks cool. Yeah, it's definitely a cool figure for display purposes, in my opinion. You can see he just definitely looks like a cool figure. I recommend you make this guy. He's pretty cool, and it definitely looks like the Monopoly Man. So, yeah, let's go into our next minifig. Up next for minifigures is the Hunter, and you can see he goes out in the woods. Obviously, he's going to hunt deer or whatever. He's going to hunt rabbits, and you can see his legs right there have some small details, like little bones on his left leg. I don't really know what kind of details they are, but you can see his torso is camo, which is pretty cool looking. It goes well with the Hunter. You can see his cool gun right there from it's not Brick Warriors, it's a different gun company. It's not actually Brick Arms either. I forgot what it's called. I think it's GI Brick. And you can see his knife right there, which is pretty cool. You can see his face, kind of angry face. You can see his hat right there. Pretty looking hat. It's kind of like a beanie right there. And you can see his back torso printing, which is really cool looking. And you can see when you take off his head, he probably caught something with that face right there. So it's a detailed minifigure. It has a lot of back printing and front printing and stuff like that. A lot of side, or not really side printing, but just a lot of details on him that make him look like a cool looking hunter. And moving on to our last minifigure in the series, which is the anime character. And this is kind of a crazy minifigure right here. You can see I gave him the iPhone right there. Gave him a samurai sword. It's a little stereotypical of a minifigure, but I think it's kind of a wacky and unique figure. He has a lot of crazy colors. He has a lime green shirt, but he has dark green sleeves, red pants, and purple hair. So it's a crazy looking minifigure. You can see his face right there. He's probably laughing or yelling at someone. You can see that right there. And turning him around, he has a lot of crazy back printing. So there's a lot of details on him. He's cool looking. He has some of the ninja pants from Kai. You can see his torso. It's a really wacky minifigure, but I think that's kind of the whole thing about some anime shows and stuff like that. It's kind of a cool looking figure right here. So yeah, it's basically it for all 16 minifigs. So let's go into the ending of this video. Alright guys, so that is basically it for this custom minifigure series review. I'm going to be coming out with more of these. I already have 3 more series planned out for 4, 5, and 6. This is only halfway through. I might do 7 if I can get enough requests for ideas for 7 actually, because I don't really know if the figures will be even good for that series because ideas are kind of running out here. But I have a lot of ideas for 4, 5, and 6 already done, and most of the minifigs for those series are practically done already. So those are going to be pretty cool series. Tell me what you guys think of these minifigures. Who are your favorites? Who are your least favorites? Tell me why and why not. Some of them are your favorite or not, basically. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. Make sure you comment and subscribe.